Ladies and gentlemen, the game is here. I know that there is nothing that gets Zach Boren more fired up or Ohio State fans more fired up. So we don't have to talk a ton about the Buckeyes just covering yet again and pasting Rutgers 42-9. Although, Zach, we did talk about it quite a lot, as we always do during that game on Saturday. Let's just get it out of the way. It was a confusing performance, and I don't know how much of it actually carries over into the big house next week.
So confusing. I'm not quite sure what to think of it, especially this isn't an anomaly game, right? Like the last couple of weeks we've been talking about on the show, when you look at Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers, it's almost like they treated like all three games like a spring game. And I'm not saying that's wrong, right? Because they have went out there and dominated every single game. It's just kind of like they've sprinkled in things here and there every single game that people weren't expecting, I would say, or things that they haven't so much shown so far this year. Now, maybe that's a plan, right? Maybe that's like, hey, we're going to show some looks to completely make Michigan get ready for these packages of plays that really have nothing to do with our game plan going into this game. And then once that game comes, right, Indiana and everyone else is going to have to scout them. If they are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, my God, Ryan Day, you are the greatest man in the world. Now, the one thing that I worry about with this game plan, and you know this as well, is when you have 3 consecutive weeks where you're kind of going through the motions, it's methodical, it's not high energy, not high stress situations. When you do that, you can get into a rhythm and a pattern. And we talk about that so much as teams, when they start to peak, they find that cadence, right? And it's very much they're in sync with what's going on. If you continue that and then you just think you're going to flip on a switch and expect to go into Ann Arbor, Michigan in a top probably 15 matchup, right, when it's all said and done, but once CFP rankings come out Tuesday night, you really can't do that. You can't just say, hey, listen, now we're going to turn it up and here we go. Now it's a big time game. Let's go. So that's what worries me about this, Austin. And I'm not sure what to think about it. I know you were spending a lot of time with obviously the team, the guys after the game on Saturday. So maybe you can give more perspective than that. But I know from a player standpoint, man, you can't go, 3 weeks of just like ho hum. And the next thing you know, like, oh, it's game time.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. It's one of many things that we're going to be talking about all week long on the Austin and Berm Show. By the way, he's Zach Boren, former Ohio State captain, and one of the most legendary, iconic pictures in the history of the game. Maybe we'll wrap up the show with more memories of that. It's one of my favorite stories of the year. But as we look at this and get ready for the week ahead, I got the sense, and I did ask folks whether that was on the notebook on Saturday afternoon or just like, conversation before the guys got on the bus. It's like, are you tired of what's been going on the last 3 weeks? Like, yes, they want to be tested. They want a game like the game, because as you mentioned, you can fall into bad habits. You can get the routine that Ohio State has stressed so much for the last 3 weeks has been dominating, overmatched, helpless opponents, which I'm sorry, that's what Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers were. They had no chance of beating Ohio State. And the way that the Buckeyes approached it on Saturday, which was so, hard to square, is like, yes, they obviously weren't going to take chances with Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate for a game like that. But the drop off from the production of the passing attack was more significant than I thought. We'll get to all of that, I promise. But the point was, they know that they can't play on Saturday against the Wolverines like they've done the last 3 weeks. And that's not to suggest that they did anything wrong during this stretch. It's not to suggest that they've become bored or complacent with the process. It's just, this as well as anybody, Zach. When you are in that Woody, you're not trying to shirk away from challenges. You want to be pushed at the highest level. And so I talked to some people on the defensive line specifically when they were leaving, and they're like, yeah, we know what's coming. And it has been hard to maintain some of this focus and the sharpness the last couple of weeks. Now, I don't think that there's been any issue whatsoever with the way the defensive line played, certainly not from Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson on Saturday or Caden McDonald. But, I don't have a concern that like they have had the edges rounded off that they're not going to be sharp on Saturday because of the last few weeks? Because I think that they've also dialed up the practice habits accordingly.
Yeah, and you're spot on with that. I'm not saying they are going to be that. I'm not saying that, hey, listen, they've taken their foot off the gas pedal so much so that it's going to be so hard to turn it on.
Right.
All I'm saying is when you almost treat the last 3 games like a spring game, it's hard to flip the switch and be as sharp as you need to be going into enemy territory, playing in the game in a top 15 matchup. Like all of those things, it's hard to be sharp when you haven't needed to be sharp for a number of weeks, right? And it's not their fault. It really isn't. The Big Ten has not, or the rest of the teams in the Big Ten have not held up their end of the bargain. And though a lot of those teams have fallen off the face of the earth from a competitive standpoint, and so it's the only thing that worries me. And again, it goes back to the Buckeyes want to be tested. We talked about it on the show last week. Like they're dying for a big game. It's just you have to be careful. And Ryan Day and this coaching staff, it is critical of them. And maybe they are doing it during, Tuesday practices when bullets are live. And they obviously are going to have to do it this week. But it's really hard to be going through the motions and then turn it on and be clicking on all cylinders at an elite level. And so that's my one worry going into this game. It's not that the Buckeyes can't do it, won't do it. It's just you kind of fall into a pattern of going through the motions when you don't need to be as sharp as possible. When you can go out there and, fumble the ball on the 1 yard line by Bo Jackson and have some kind of ho-hum plays that kind of didn't look very sharp and still beat a team 42-9, right?
Yeah.
Like you obviously don't need to. You have to be executing at an elite level on Saturday in Ann Arbor, and that's where they need to get to. And this week of practice is going to be absolutely crucial for them.
Yeah, and that will come down to if Ohio State's going to be the best version of itself. We know that Jeremiah Smith and or Carnell Tate need to be involved in that. And it's Monday. It's a Boren blitz, so we don't have injury updates on those guys. And surprise, surprise, we probably won't get them on Tuesday, and we most likely won't get them on Wednesday after practice when Ryan Day has his lightning round. It's all going to be close to the vest. The most that he has been able to say publicly or been willing to say about it is day to day at this point. You and I have probably asked, 75 people in the Woody to get a feel for where this is. I think you and I both feel very confident that Jeremiah Smith is going to play on Saturday. Unclear, when you have a sort of muscle lower leg issue like Carnell Tate, I do believe that's day to day. And I don't think that we can make a prediction on if he will be cleared fully to go against the Wolverines on Saturday or not. But simply getting Jeremiah back will be a big deal, because if we're going to look at what happened on Saturday and try and project that forward into the game, Zach, what Max Clare was great. We know how tough Brandon Ennis is, but with Mylan Graham barely playing, with Bryson Rogers not a factor, and with David Adolph, a walk-on getting the start, the drop-off in production of the passing attack was glaring to me. And if I'm going to be so bold, almost concerning for a team that has the best wide receivers group in the entire country.
Yeah, I think concerning is a good word. And I think concerning because you start looking at the wide receiver room, and Saturday's game would have been a perfect game for Mylan Graham to pop off and show what he can do, right? And who knows what the backstory is there. Obviously, we got to see him lit, in the second half. Didn't have a big presence, right, in the offense, but that was a game that he could have really grown. The other thing is, like, what's worrisome, Quincy Porter, that's a game for him to really grow, and I know he was out hurt. So you start looking at this wide receiver room, and as deep and as talented as they are, when you have Jeremiah Smith out, Carnell Tate out, Quincy Porter out, all due to injury, and you got Mylan Graham, who there might be, I'm not going to speculate, right? But from my time playing, if someone's not playing in the first half and plays in the second half, tells me there's some kind of punishment there, right? And so when you start looking at those 4 guys, and you got to lean on Brandon Ennis, Bryson Rogers, and Adolph, right? Like those are your 3 guys. It's very concerning, and so we'll see what happens. To your point, I think I am very confident or fairly confident that we will at least see one of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on Saturday. And I think there is a chance that we see both of them
Right.
come Saturday. And if that's the case, even if you see one of them, it's a huge lift for this Ohio State offense. Because you even saw on Saturday, there was no threat down the field. Julian Saint did not push the ball downfield one time all game. And it's the same thing that kind of nipped us in the butt last year against Michigan, right? Is there was no vertical pass threat. Now, obviously, that was a play call standpoint. Saturday was a play call standpoint, but maybe it was a play call standpoint because there was no one to take the top off the defense, right? There's no real threat. And so you need Jeremiah Smith, you need Carnell Tate to have that deep threat. Mylan Graham can be that guy, but who knows what's going to happen there. And so it's crucial to get one of those guys back. It's even Buckeye fans should be singing in the streets if you can get both of those guys back come Saturday.
Yeah, I suspect that they will. And at the same time, Ohio State's been afforded an opportunity these last couple of weeks to continue to hammer away at the rushing attack and the ground game. We spent, Zach, the first half of the season, first 8 games of the season, asking where the explosiveness was going to be, where the efficiency was going to come from, if they were going to hit some shots down the field. Bo Jackson is doing that. Isaiah West has come along. They ran for over 250 yards. And I know Rutgers is one of the worst rush defenses in the country. UCLA the week before is the same thing, but there were some bad defenses earlier in the year where we didn't see Ohio State hitting some of these runs the way that they have down the stretch. I think there's been real improvement there. That's obviously significant because at some point this week, and I know that Ohio State fans will not want to hear it from Ryan Day, but he will bring up that in the game, the team that runs the ball the best tends to win it. And whether they get back Jeremiah, whether they can put on a laser show in the big house or not, at some point, Ohio State is going to have to get those tough yards on the ground. And it looks like they're better suited to do that now than they have been at any point this year.
Yeah, you have to be able to run the football in the game. Even to your point, even if you're not going out there and needing to pound it 40 times, you still need to run the football. You can't go out there 5 wide and expect to win that game and throw the ball, 50 times. Here's the one concern that I have. When we brought up a concern about the wide receiver room and the health of it, the one concern I have with the offensive line is the lack of vertical push down the field in the run game, right? When you start looking at some of the makeup of these plays and you start really diving into the run game, there is so much catching and pushing side to side and not so much push vertically. When you get a push vertically, whether it be through double teams, whether it be someone just rocking off the ball and dominating their guy, now you create different levels, and now you get into linebackers' faces, and now those creases really come up. You give running backs 2-way goes, and that's when you pop the big one. If you were only pushing guys vertically, linebackers have no one in their face, right? Running backs are trying to kind of find those holes. There's a lot of times it's only 1-way goes because the offense lineman's butt's going to be in a hole, and guess what? Then you only got 1 way in the linebacker. It's an easy fill from that standpoint. So something this offensive line needs to pay close attention to. And we saw it last year throughout the season, right? And then next thing you know, come the playoff, they got vertical push like it was their job, and you saw that running game take off. I think that's crucial of where they're at right now. They have to look at the vertical push that they're getting. And if that means, hey, a change in personnel because there's people that suits their game better, whatever it might be, you need to do that. Because if you are not getting a vertical push in the run game, and I think that's so much of the issue that we see down at the goal line, right?
Yeah.
The short yardage. Why are we not getting in? Because guess what? If you're not getting a vertical push, if you're not moving dudes off the ball, guess what? You're not going to get the short yardage, right? You can't do that side to side. And so it worries me a little bit. I'm gonna say that probably worries me more than the depth of the pass game or depth of the wide receiver room. And to some Buckeye fans, that might be eye-opening, but to me, that is a huge, huge, huge potential issue. I say potential because we're not there yet. Yeah. But if we don't figure it out, it could be a problem.
Well, you know what is not a problem, Zach? The silver bullets. We've gone, almost this entire show. We're nearing a 3 and out, and we haven't had to talk about Caleb Downs getting activated in a different way by Matt Patricia, or Arvell Reese getting back to doing the Arvell Reese things after a couple of weeks where it was like, let's put him in on the sideline a couple times and wrap him in bubble wrap to make sure he's ready for the game. All this stuff is ramping up to be ready for that trip up north, and they're so good. Caden Curry had gone almost a month without a sack. He was dominant. I mentioned him. Every time somebody tries to run the football up the middle, Caden McDonald just swallows it alive. You see Jermaine Matthews flying around making plays, Davison Igbinosun. That is the biggest difference, I think, in this game. And the defense nearly won the game a year ago. And if they make 2 field goals, obviously we're having a very different conversation. But this execution by the Silver Bullets is at a level that I've never seen it.
They are so good. I mean, so good. There's no other way to put it. The way that they fly around to the football, the way that they attack offenses, I don't know if we've ever seen it out of a Silver Bullet defense. And I know as former players, everyone kind of pounds their chest about who has a better defense, this and that. Oh, back in my day, we did that. Listen, this Silver Bullet defense, I would put up against any former defense that we've had at Ohio State. And the whole reason why I say that, man, is just because the way these players work in unison and how they are on the same page and the way that they're able to manipulate their defense or their look from 1 second to another pre-snap is something I've never seen before, right? Like they will show a 4-2-5 defense, which we call nickel, and literally right when the offense starts their, snap count and starting to do things, they'll jump into a 5-1 and show a completely different look, which is completely confusing to quarterbacks. And I think we've seen it's confusing to coaching staffs, right? Because they're sitting there and they're trying to check and they really don't know what to do. And then you package that with these guys flying around with the football, playing with heart, having an attitude that, hey, it's kind of a mindset, right, that we haven't had in a while of we're going to get to you and you're going to know we're coming. And I think it starts with obviously those guys up front, like you talked about, Arvo, Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, like the list goes on and on with these guys that just play with this swagger and attitude that say, hey, doesn't matter what you throw at us, we're going to come out swinging and we're going to put you in a position that is best suited for us. And that means you making a mistake, you not being able to do your game plan, you not being able to do what you want to do. And I think going into this week, Austin, everyone's been circling this game for a long time because you've got the $13 million quarterback in Bryce Underwood, right? And everyone's saying how he's been coming on as the year's been going. And, he probably had his best game of maybe their offense might have had their best game Saturday against Maryland, right? That they've seen in a while. What's going to happen when he goes up against this Ohio State defense? And what is this Ohio State defense going to do to stop the run that we've seen has been an issue the last 4 years? And B, now you have a different dynamic with a mobile quarterback in an RPO style of offense that Ohio State hasn't seen a ton of this year. So what's going to happen? What kind of defenses and how can Matt Patricia and this staff manipulate the defense to give Michigan different looks at all time and be able to cover their bases?
Yeah, I can't wait to find out. It's a fascinating matchup. We've been building towards it for a long time, and Ohio State's certainly ready for a test like that. This is as you mentioned, it's always the one that's circled on the calendar. There's stakes attached to it. Ryan Day was saying it after the game, and the players were echoing it. It's time to play for hardware. There's gold pants on the line on Saturday. It'll punch a ticket to Indianapolis to go play for the Big Ten title. The Buckeyes haven't done either of those things in a long time, too long for their expectations. But they did have to beat Rutgers first to get to that point at 11-0. So I'm going to make a bold prediction that Caden Curry is going to feature in 3 and out here.
Caden Curry for sure is. Caden Curry is one of my favorite dudes on this team. And the whole reason why I say that is because the dude plays with heart and he plays with this attitude and relentless effort that we haven't seen in a long time. And I love what he's able to do. He's that guy that stuck around. Guess what? The career probably hasn't went his way up to this point. Never really a starter, more of a rotational guy. Then his senior year, he goes out there and is just balling out at an all Big Ten level. It was so great to see him on his senior day have the impact that he did. He got screwed out of a touchdown, which is a whole different conversation because we could talk about officiating, about Jermaine Matthews' PIs and everything else, right? We could talk about it. All I know is the Big Ten has given the Ohio State Michigan game an atrocious refereeing crew the last couple of years. Hopefully it's a good Big Ten crew, but I'm doing a disservice.
Is there such a thing as a good Big Ten crew?
Decent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm doing a disservice to Caden Curry right now because what he's given to the Buckeyes, what he's given to this program, people should be very thankful for him in what he's done. And guess what? This defense is going to ride with him till the end of the year. He's the engine that makes this thing go. I'm going to point him out. The other guys I'm going to point out are specifically because we kind of know Sonny Styles, Arvo Reese, and Caleb Downs. That will be the last game those three have played in the Horseshoe. Obviously, there are some others, but just those three specifically, what they have brought to this defense, the dynamic playing style of those three and what they're able to do. Like, I don't think Ohio State's had some unicorns on defense, right? You bring up Ryan Shazier, you bring up some other guys, even like a Chase Young or the Bosa brothers. But these are unicorns that they're able to do different things with. And it's not like they're just going to line up in the same position and just play. These guys are able to cover guys deep. These guys are able to line up on the line of scrimmage and blitz. These guys are able to play in space and do anything the defensive coaching staff wants them to do. And so for that, Buckeye Nation should be more than thankful for what they've brought to this team, what they've brought to this defense. And then my last Buckeye leaf, this is going to be a little off the wall, but guess what? We can't even talk about the game on Saturday. It's moving forward. My last Buckeye leaf is going to go to Mark Pantoni. And the whole reason why I say this is because Mark Pantoni to this day has been working for 360 days to put this roster together, to beat the team up north, to go to the Big Ten championship game, and to repeat as national champions. And you have seen what he's able to do and the way he's been able to cohesively put this roster together to, again, be at an elite level. That this week, this Michigan game is about what him and his staff have done to set this team up for success in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They've seen what Michigan has done, the blueprint for the last 4 years. They went out and they recruited, they got guys in the portal. They did things to set this team up for success and to get a victory against the team up north. They are going to do that this week. Hats off to him, I think, and what they've been able to do. But Mark Pantoni, man, it's your week to shine because guess what? These boys are going to go out and they're going to ball out, and it's all because of what you and your staff has done. Yeah,
I think that's a great point, Zach, because we've made this we've had this conversation before where it's almost separate tracks that beating Michigan after what happened a year ago. Obviously, that wasn't a requirement to win the national championship. And the style of play in the game, the way that, the Wolverines have attacked and been able to get these wins against the Buckeyes, like, is not really anybody else's approach. Like, Ohio State's didn't see any of that in the playoff. So, like, you have to build a roster that is simultaneously able to beat the best teams in the SEC, which aren't going to put a bunch of fullbacks or 6 or 7 offensive linemen on the field and try and win in a phone booth the way that Michigan does. They're separate plans. You have to have a roster that can do both. And most programs can't do that, but it certainly appears like Ohio State has built one that is capable of playing with any style, which is impressive and almost impossible to pull off in college football these days.
For sure. And that's why I talk about the versatility of those. I've named multiple guys, but the versatility that Mark Pantoni has put together on this roster. And it goes even to guys like Caden McDonald, who, guess what, are great rushing the passer and obviously elite at stopping the run. You can't just have one-dimensional players. In this day and age of college football, and we've seen it, right? Ohio State was one-dimensional at one point where it was set up for SEC, more wide-open offenses, right? The speed and all those things. Well, guess what? In the Big Ten and in November, you're going to line up against a team with 7 offensive linemen and 2 fullbacks in the game, and they're going to try to control the line of scrimmage for the entire fourth quarter. And guess what? It's happened. So you have to be able to manipulate your roster to have guys that are versatile enough to play in that style of play, and then in the next week play against a 5-wide team to be able to rush the quarterback and play in space. And Ohio State has done that at an elite level. You saw them last year in the playoff be able to do that, obviously, as all the teams that they played had different playing styles. They most definitely did. And it finished with Notre Dame, who wanted to run the football on them nonstop, right?
Yeah.
And now you're seeing it again this year. They've been elite at being versatile enough to stop different offenses. This is going to be their biggest test in the trenches from a run game standpoint. And as the season goes on, next week or the following week in Indy, when the Buckeyes are hopefully playing there, you're going to get another one of those tests because Indiana's going to want to run the football against you as well. So what can Ohio State do? What can this roster do to be able to stop multiple offenses as the season goes on?
Yeah, can't wait to find out that the game is finally here. How many times have you autographed the photo of your sack in 2012?
Too many to count. I would have no idea. I can't even put a number on it. All I know is I hope that photo gets put into the lore of history, because I hope someone else has that same photo this weekend, this Saturday, and just kind of takes my photo and puts it on the back burner. I would be so happy, and I would get it autographed myself from that player, and I would easily take a back seat knowing that, hey, someone is going to sack Michigan quarterback, hopefully Bryce Underwood, stand over top of him, and it being a game-sealing play.
Something tells me number 8 might be involved. I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Fantastic.
Hey, you and the family try and get some rest this week to be ready for Saturday at noon. A stressful time in the Boren household, but a joyful time as well. So congratulations to you all. Thanks for carving out a little bit of time to have a Monday Boren Blitz. I'll check back and see how this week went for you. And we'll be talking maybe next weekend as well when I get back from Michigan. But congratulations.
For sure. I will be in Ann Arbor, Austin.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well,
I will be there. I will be there.
Right.
I wouldn't miss it. I've been going back and forth. Yes, my wife gave birth to twins last week. And they came at the perfect time. So now I'm still able to make a trip to Ann Arbor, and I will be up there, and I would not miss this game for the world.
Even better. All right, perfect. I didn't want to jump to any conclusions because you did miss a home game for the first time in like the entirety that I've known you. So
yeah, first time in probably 8 years.
So congratulations again, and thanks to former Ohio State captain Zach Boren for a Boren Blitz. His thoughts as we get ready for the game couldn't be more fired up. Stick with us on the Austin and Berm Show all week long as we get ready to head up to the Big House for that one Saturday at noon. But for Zach, I am Austin. Have a great week, folks.